Hey y'all, it's your boy Poseidon with the 12th episode of the Poseidcast. And in this video, or in this podcast, I'm going to talk over one topic, and I'll probably branch out to a bunch of other ones. Normally, if you look over here, I have a list of topics that I talk about, and I kind of go through each one, kind of talk my spiel, and then, move on to the next topic until it's over. But there's a big topic that's kind of been circulating. I've done some research on it and stuff like that, watching other people's videos, looking into previous tournaments, looking into past years of the game. And the big topic this week that's kind of been going around social media is the amount of EVO entrances for Mortal Kombat 1. Obviously, this podcast, I've been speaking mainly about Mortal Kombat 1, and if you pay attention to my channel, or even just the podcast, you know that I speak a lot about competitive Mortal Kombat, and that's, one of my passions, essentially, like, in life. That's one of the reasons that I made the YouTube channel, and why I run Ryu TV, and why I go to events. It's just because I genuinely love, or at least enjoy, the Mortal Kombat 1 competitive scene, or just Mortal Kombat NRS scene in general. I got into it back in the end of Injustice 2, and then kind of when MK1 came off, I kind of hit the ground running and just played that game a bunch. And now we're in Mortal Kombat 1, and I make content around the scene, and it's what it is. But there's been a lot of people that have been, kind of dunking on the scene. There's been a lot of outrage that, like, oh, the numbers are so low, 645 entrances. And it just took a little comparison. Street Fighter, I have the numbers right in front of me, got over 5,265. Tekken got over 4,000, 4,646. Guilty Gear got a little over 2,000, 2,058. Grand Blue, new fighting game, newer than MK, 1,377. Street Fighter Third Strike, older Street Fighter game, 1,101. It's kind of like, I would say Street Fighter Third Strike is kind of like the melee of, like, the Smash scene, where there's still a big scene for it, despite it being a older version of the game. Underneath Inverse, 785. And all those 6 games are above MK. MK 645 entrances, and King of Fighters, the 8 games in the main lineup, 375, which is about half of what MK got, but still very, very low compared to the other games. So, what does this mean? Is the MK dead? And the answer is no. I think there's a lot of reasons that go into it. A big thing, people like to talk about the devs, and I always try to be, I never try to be like, to point the finger at something else and be like, what can they do better to make something that I want to be better? You know what I mean? I always try to point the finger at myself and be like, what can I do, or what can at least we can do as a community? What do we have control over that we can influence to, make the scene better? And a lot of people do think that if they complain enough on Twitter, and they just say enough bad things, and they point out all the glitches, and they point out all the things they don't like, and they make all these negative videos, and they talk about how bad MK1 is, how bad NRS is, how bad WB is, that they're going to hear it, they're going to be like, oh, we need to make a change to better support this competitive scene, and, so, they enjoy the game. But the sad truth is, the amount of people that enter, so we see 645, and we see that as such a low number, but the crazy part is that is over twice as big as any other Mortal Kombat 1 tournament to date. Now, in terms of Mortal Kombat 1 tournaments, this is over 2 times bigger than that. We had 645. ECT was the biggest tournament before this. It had 299 entrances. It was a pro comp event, and it was about a month after the game came out, when people were still liking it. I know a lot of people who are at that tournament grinding and did super well at that tournament who don't even really play the game anymore, who don't even really like it. And that's happened a lot, where a lot of people who liked MK11 a lot, even played it into the later years, just don't really like MK1 and aren't really playing them. And that's understandable. I think that kind of goes into, like, one of my main kind of subtopics, is the fact that MK changes so quickly. And even with the 4-year gap between 11 and 1, that's still pretty quick in terms of overall fighting games. Like, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out before MK11 came out, and it's still the main Smash game. And there's no even rumors about there's going to be another Smash game. So, and they're still crushing entrances. There's still tons of people playing it, even online when the online is terrible. Atrocious online. Someone like the Coin Box, although he puts up a lot of money, Hungry Box, they still get a ton of entrances for that game. And there's like no dev support, but there's a lot of community support, and it's kind of seeing that as someone who has come from the Smash scene and is still very much active in the Smash scene, to see all that they can accomplish with just community effort and people just putting on events and people, getting people to come out and having the top players, someone like Mango, who's been literally was at EVO 2008, like top 3, still actively playing and winning tournaments, granted the game 16 years later. And he's really doing it because he loves the scene. You know what I mean? Like, does he still want to be? Like, he could probably sit home and stream. And this goes into another topic. Sit home and stream and not go to the tournament, and he'll make more money. It'll be easier on him. He won't have to spend money traveling. Like, just to get to EVO, it's like $1,000, like, minimum. And that's if you live in the United States. And that's like, you have to pay to fly there. And maybe you live close enough you can drive, and, that costs something expensive. You could pay to fly there. It's super expensive, like a $400 or $500 flight. Then you got to pay to stay there. The rooms are super expensive. That's $300-$400. That's if you're splitting the room with a bunch of other people. You have, the expenses of, the entry fee was like $200. There's right there, and that's like $1,000. And then you got to consider like food and drinks and stuff like that. We got a guest appearance from Steeler. Shout out to the boy Steeler. And there's all these things that you have to consider when you are gonna go to these events, and that's just another layer. And there's all these layers and all these things to consider. And Steeler, he actually ended the recording. I had to start a new recording. Steeler, don't do it. These cats have ended one of my recordings, man. They do not like Poseidon. They do not like the Poseidcast. They are the biggest Poseidcast haters. Imagine you do something, you do like a podcast, and the people that live within the room that you're doing it in do not like it. That's what I live for. I don't know if they don't, but it really, really seems like they do not like it. Anyway, so there's another thing to consider. So a big topic I wanted to talk about is the fact that there's a lot of players who played previous NRS games that have a ton of influence, like the biggest influence in the scene, who just aren't really liking this game. Like, I can think of just some names off the bat, like someone like Deoxys was one of my favorite Injustice 2 players to watch. Blue Beetle was just so cool to watch, and then even in the early MK11 days with this Garrus, I played Garrus, so I was really influenced by Deoxys. He went to ECT, I think got like 9th out of 299, which is really good. And kind of was like, yeah, I don't really even like the guy. I haven't seen him on the game since then. That was like month 1 of the game. You have people like Scar talking about how he's just not really liking the game. I don't think he's been to an event since ECT. You see him grind the game occasionally, but he's not like all over it. Like he has been in past games. You have people like Tweety, who still plays the game a lot, but is very open about not wanting to travel to events because he's focused on trying to, make money from the game, and that's completely understandable and respectable. And he's going to be able to make more money staying at home or restreaming the tournament, making content around the tournament, just live streaming gameplay, doing other things like that. He's going to be able to make more of a profit than he will be going to these tournaments. And maybe, if Tweety could, but then you have to spend $1,000 to get there, and you have to grind up super hard, and there's still 645 people, and you're only getting paid if you make top 8. I think maybe even only top 6. I think top 8 you might get a medal still, and maybe you get like some sort of prize. I don't even know. You can get 7th place at this tournament. IDK if you even make any money. And there's 30K on the line here. There's 30K on the line on EVO. And the sad truth is, like, EVO isn't guaranteed. And, I'm kind of all over the place here, but it isn't. And we were EVO drops these numbers, and half the comments are like, is MK dead? Is MK dying? Why is MK entered so low? La 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 MK. And like, if you look at it in terms of like sales, MK like is better. There's more sales than Street Fighter. There's more sales than Tekken. So it's kind of like, oh, you guys do all these sales. Why are we 10xing you in entrances at the biggest tournament of the year? And the thing is that like people just aren't showing up, and then they talk bad. The thing is, like I said, EVO isn't guaranteed. I don't know if we're going to be, if MK1 is going to be at EVO next year, unless it's like a pro comp stop. We don't even know if we're getting a second pro comp. This could be the biggest MK1 tournament Honestly, it probably will be. This might be the biggest MK1 tournament for the entire lifespan of the game. That is a very real possibility. And not only is it a real possibility, I would say it's likely. This doubled the previous entrance numbers when we had pro comp events with 10k pop bonuses and the potential to make final combat. And I mean, the announcement and stuff was super shaky, and maybe ECT would have been even bigger. But like, it was announced as like the first major Mortal Kombat 1 tournament, and then it was announced like 2 weeks before, like, oh yeah, it's going to be a pro comp event, and there's a 10k pop bonus. And like, they literally had to extend the ECT entrances later, which is another big reason why MK1 just isn't doing well in terms of competition, is because anything that was backed by NRS and had funding was completely just last second and just kind of botched. And like, you know, like the Brazilian Pro Comp event, the venue wasn't even announced until like 2 months before the event. They had less than 100 entrances at a Pro Comp event with a 10k pop bonus. And it was pretty much all people from South America, and like, I know, like Gambler traveled and like Javier traveled, and that was like it. And like, I don't know if anyone outside of South America traveled for that event, to that event outside of those two. And so it's just like, that has been just completely and utterly botched by NRS. But the thing is that like, at this point, I'm gonna say it, and I've been saying it, we gotta operate basically as if we're grassroots. And what that means is that it's basically the scene's responsibility to carry on the competitive scene. Like, people gotta show up. Like, the thing is, like, 645, that's the amount of people that signed up and are going to EVO to play Mortal Kombat 1. This isn't like some statistic based off averages. Like, if you want the numbers to be bigger, you gotta show up. And there was no like influence, there was no push. I didn't see anyone trying to be like, yo, let's try to get people to EVO. And the thing is, and I'm not a big content creator. I'm not. And I don't know if I ever will be. I'm going to keep, you know, creating content, keep doing the Poseidcast, keep doing Mortal Kombat 1 content, maybe some other games, who knows. But I'm not. I don't have enough influence to really make a difference at all. But there are a lot, and I didn't see a single one pushing for it. And that's the problem, is that there's so much negativity surrounding the Mortal Kombat 1 scene, and there's so much negativity surrounding just like competitive Mortal Kombat, and like from high influential people in the Mortal Kombat scene talking down about how bad the game is. And there are people who talk so bad about MK11, and towards the end of Injustice 2 when I was there's so many people talking down about that. So acting like it's the particular game's fault. Or, you know, there's the idea that maybe, oh, there hasn't been a good NRS game since MKX. That's entirely possible. But to act like, oh, it's this particular game and this particular MK1 is completely botched, is just not true at all in terms of that aspect. Like, maybe it's not as good as 11 or Injustice 2, but people were talking down and negatively within the scene about the game very heavily since I've been here. And that was the end of Injustice 2, basically all of MK11, basically a couple months after MK11 came out till, you know, the end of MK11 when MK1 came out. People were just over MK11. And it's just like, we have all this perpetuated negativity to the point where people don't even want to go out. They don't want to travel to these events and try to play competitively, because it's just like, what people are almost making it like, what's the point? And the thing is, like, there's so much that it's like exhausting, and it demotivates me. And I'm someone who's really motivated just out of the fact that I really love the scene, and it's just so demotivating to see all these people that I looked up to, people when I got into the scene were like, wow, these are amazing, saying, oh, the MK scene sucks. Oh, it's just like, just watching videos. Like, I tried to be in the know about it. Like, I tried to do research. I looked at posts. I look at YouTube videos and stuff. Like, I watched a bunch, and like something like watching like a Tom Brady YouTube video about him just being this like talking dad, it's just like exhausting, like mentally, like, oh, man, it's just like it makes me like tired. It makes me feel the emotion of like being tired listening to someone like Tom Brady talk about just how bad MK1 is. And instead of, you know, walking away and playing another game or playing a previous NRS game that you loved, or using your influence to try to build a scene for Mortal Kombat, whatever, Mortal Kombat 1 or MK11 or MKX or Injustice 1 or Injustice 2 or MK9 or whatever game you feel like, use the influence to just perpetually dump on Mortal Kombat 1. And you know who the people are that are paying the biggest price? NRS and WB has made their money. The people that are paying the biggest price are the people who are actively competing in Mortal Kombat 1 right now. And in a way, they get told that they're like the problem. Like, people have come to me and said, you are the problem. You are the reason that, not me particularly, but kind of like people around me, you know what I mean? They're kind of using the general you. That, you know, we don't get anything because you're still going out and you're still making content on the game and you're still, you know, you're doing all these things, you're speaking highly of the game, that makes them think that they're doing a good job. And the thing is like, do we really think that, like, doing something like bitching on Twitter is going to make like the NRS devs really like, oh, do we really think we're causing some sort of positive actual effect on the community or the game devs in general by just constantly perpetually complaining on Twitter? Or complaining anywhere, making YouTube rant videos? Like, a minimal amount, probably not. And you're just hurting the people who are trying to build the MK1 scene, the people that want to go out, the people that want to prove themselves, the people that want to travel for the game, the people that want to grind and want to become one of the best and want to top 8 and want to make, you know, a little money here and there. Like I said, the EVO isn't even involved with NRS. Like, at this point, why would EVO want Mortal Kombat back? And there's people that generally want that. Like, we're feeding into this narrative that people who don't want MK1 can kind of latch onto and be like, hey, yeah, this is why MK shouldn't be at EVO next year. And, you know, and is that what people genuinely want? The people in the scene who are grinding this game? Because the thing is, I've seen so many people who are good at MK1, who are good at MK11 and previous NRS titles, be super good at other fighting games. I've seen people crush it in Street Fighter, crush it in Tekken, crush it in Guilty Gear, crush it in Grand Blue. Street Fighter Third Strike, I haven't. I will be real with you. I haven't seen anyone in MK be also good at that game. That's hard. Street Fighter Third Strike is an older game, and maybe if we get into it, that'll be a fun game to get into. Maybe I'll look into getting into that game. That sounds like a lot of fun. But anywho, it's like, these people that are super good at MK1 who are just so upset about it are super good at these other fighting games, and they generally like fighting games in general. So it makes no sense to why not go and try to grind those games and become one of the best in those games, because they definitely can. I've seen it. But instead we put up this negative narrative, and third-party events like EVO, who has nothing, this isn't a Pro Tour event, like maybe NRS has some sort of influence, but EVO's putting up the pop bonus. NRS isn't putting up the pop bonus. And, you know, 30K, that's a good amount of money. And who would want to go? Who would want to go? I would want to go. I wanted to go. I couldn't go last second. I was almost able to go last second, but fortunately didn't work out, and registration ended up ending, so wasn't able to go, so I won't even be there. And a lot of people that are talking down about this are people that didn't even consider going. Probably wouldn't go even if the event was, even if MK1 was the best game ever. Maybe they would. I don't know. But there's a lot of things that go into it, and the fact of the matter is, if we're going to keep on shitting and dumping on the game and the community and tell people in the community leaders that they're the problem stuff, then we might not be at EVO next year. And the thing is, like, I've seen like the Super Smash Bros. Community with their grassroots events run other fighting games. Like Genesis, the biggest Smash event basically of the year, had every fighting game you could think of. And Genesis this year was 3 months after MK1 came out, and MK1 wasn't even there. They didn't even have a tournament there. They had Guilty Gear. They had Grand Blue, I think. I think they had Grand Blue. Grand Blue was nowhere. They had, you know, the Guilty Gear. They had Street Fighter. They had, like, SNK versus Capcom 2, but no Mortal Kombat. And I think a big reason for that is there isn't a big community leadership with people who have a lot of influence speaking positively about the competitive scene, and, you know, they would get more eyes on it, but also influence more people to want to run events there. And I understand why people don't want to. Like, people in the community, they don't really show up, and when they do, they basically told that they're the problem. But like that, it's just, there's a lot that goes into it. Like, people just aren't showing up. Like, Level Up Expo had a 5K pop bonus from Mortal Kombat put up by the event. You know how many people went to Level Up Expo? How many MK signups they had? 42. Level Up Expo had 42 signups. That's ridiculous for a 5K pop bonus, a big tournament that has multiple other fighting games. Like, people just aren't showing up to these MK events. And, you know, we can blame the devs and stuff like that, and maybe people just aren't liking it. And maybe it's because older players aren't showing up, or the game is bad, or it's too buggy, or, you know, nobody asked for assists, or whatever the reason is. But I think there's two ways, there's two eventually calls to action that can be made that Big Influence can use to kind of sway the Mortal Kombat competitive community. And I think those are is thus. We either one, we try to get everyone that we can to go to these events. We try to get, you know, the big names, all the small names, all the O tours and the 1 tours, and that's a big thing that I'll kind of try to go on later if I can remember. O tours and 1 tours, because those guys are actually the biggest thing that make events go. To get those people out to events and just to be like, hey, we're here, we're the competitive community, this is how much influence we have, we still showing up strong, please appreciate us and show us that you respect us, because we're going to show up, and we're going to show up in droves. So we are a big part of this community. We're a big reason that your wallets are fat at WB and NRMS. We are a huge part of the community, and we are, you know, we're gonna, and if you guys, you know, show us, we showed up and showed you guys, hey, we're here to stay, and we're here to grind, and we want these games to be competitive. Please give us competitive games. Please show us. Please give us competitive pots. Please give us skins that you can buy, so that go at least partially go into a, you know, maybe the next pro tour, like that. Or I think the second call to action that we can do is try to create some sort of like backlash for not, you know, supporting the competitive scene. So either be like, hey, let's not show up to these events, or this event, let's just, you know, everyone don't show up to it. Hey, I'll Combat Pack 2, don't buy Combat Pack 2 until, you know, and what will show is that we stand together as a community, and we're going to, you know, we're not going to support the game because we're not getting what we want, and we're feeling like you guys don't respect the competitive community, and because, you know, you got your bag and that's it, you don't want to help us in any way. You don't want to support the scene. You don't want to support the players who grind this game the most. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you ever heard of the 80-20 rule, where, you know, 80% of the play time is played by 20% of the people who play the game. It's just a general rule. It's in business. It's in like basically anything. That it's 80% of the people who buy coffee, or 20% of the people who buy coffee buy 80% of the coffee. 80% or 20% of the people who play the game play the 80% of the playtime, and that's basically the competitive community. Like, people who compete at this game play hours on end every day, every night, playing in these tournaments, live streaming. You know, tournament organizers are live streaming the event. Like, the majority of the playtime in this game is played by competitive players. There's people who are casual who play it, but like, look, you're not playing 6, 7, 8 hours a day if you're just a casual. Like, that's like, maybe you are, maybe you just genuinely like it that much, but you're grinding. The people who really grind this game are going to play it a lot and going to put a lot of time and effort into it, and we got to show that, like, you know, these people should be respected. These people should be appreciated. These people should show that if you're willing to put in that much time and dedication, that the company can put out a fraction of the money they made on the game and support those players. So I think those two calls of action are either, you know what I mean, they kind of like are the best of both worlds. I honestly prefer the first one, where we kind of just decide that we're going to show up and show out to all these events and stuff like that, and we try to help other people get there. And we do things like compendiums, which is something like that's very popular in the Smash community, where it's like, oh, like, well, if this person gets this much money raised, whether that's donations or like there's like a shop, and like whatever profits go to like that player, and then they can get to these events, stuff like that. You can do stuff like that, or we can decide, hey, as a community, until we get our voices heard, we're gonna not show up, and we're gonna try to make their wallets hurt. And the thing is, I personally don't have enough influence to make any one of those things really happen in droves, but there are plenty of people that do, so maybe someone of those can hear it, and they can, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly like one or two, it could be derivatives of it, but I think those are generally the two ideas that we can go off of that are call to actions that can actually potentially influence the competitive community. But a big thing, and the reason I think number one is really good, is that the people who make up the community aren't, you know, it's not the Sonic Foxes, the Ninja Killers, the Gurs, the Tweedies, the Tom Bradys, you know, even like, you know, the content side, the Diffs or the Mike Trolinskis or the Wazes. The people that make up the competitive community are the people who show up and go 0-2 or 1-2 at the bracket. You look at Street Fighter, 5,265, 2,632 of those people are going to go 0-2 or 1-2 in the Street Fighter 6 bracket. They're going to sit down, they're going to be like, hey, you have your brackets. They're going to play 2 or 3 matches, and they're going to be done. And then they're just going to be enjoying EVO, or maybe they're playing other games, or maybe, you know, they're going to go to the beach, or they're going to be spectators for the rest of the time that they're there. And the thing is, with a game like MK, a lot of people that are traveling are people who are maybe not going to win or don't have a chance to win, but are going to do well. You know, how many people of the 645 genuinely have a chance to make it out of their pool? I would say half, maybe 2/3 have a legitimate shot. Maybe if the pool goes right, or maybe they'll make an upset, or maybe there'll be some early round matches. Like, getting those people to go out. And the thing is that, like, there's such a huge casual base of the game that at the point where they outsold Street Fighter, they outsold Tekken, and could we get another 1,000 or 2,000 people to show up just to, you know, support the competitive scene, or the fact that they're, you know, just getting into it and they're casuals and, oh, well, yeah, let's enjoy a weekend in Vegas and let's also go to EVO and it'll be cool just to be a part of this. And maybe they win one set and they're happy and like, man, I didn't go to, I won 1-2, I won a set, it felt great, now I'm gonna go watch this tournament and enjoy my time in Las Vegas. Getting those people out is so very important. And I've seen other influencers talk about this, that, like, just the importance of getting those people out. And that's why it's you know, good to do things like, you know, amateur brackets or redemption brackets. I call them redemption because people don't like to think of themselves as amateurs. So, like, redemption brackets, I think, are really cool, and that's why Every Sundays has tried to do that, even though it's an online event. TNS has done that as well. It would be cool if maybe something like EVO or some of these other tournaments did something like that, where, oh, if you got 0-2 or 1-2 in the bracket, well, you can enter another one of other people who want 0-2 or 1-2, get more tournament experience, and maybe you can win, or maybe you can even top 8 this event, where, you know, you're playing other people on your level, where these other people who have been grinding the game for years, you know, have a chance at making the top 8 or the top 32 or whatever. And it's coming up with ideas that we could potentially help the scene grow, and, you know, organically, because at this point, like I said, we're grassroots, and that's just, you know, the way it is to a degree. Like, we do have dev support, we do have them supporting things, and, like, I've heard people say, like, I watched this video where the guy was like, oh, well, the skins, and, like, you know, we'll have NRS sell, like, skins, and, you know, 30% of that goes into the prize pool. But the thing is, for an event like EVO that's not on the Pro Tour and that's not involved with NRS, like, EVO wouldn't get any of that money anyway. Like, if they were to do that, it would probably go towards Final Combat or maybe just Pro Tour events in general. So the fact that it just wouldn't likely go to an event like this, so that idea, although great, and I would love that if it did happen, I wouldn't go to an event like EVO. So there's just a lot of things to consider, and let's see. And I mean, I honestly don't know what else to go over anymore on this MK at EVO 645 entrances. It's just sad that I can't really sit here and be, like, happy about it. This is going to be, as I said, the biggest Mortal Kombat 1 event by double to date. And we're sitting here talking about how the entrances are so low and it's terrible and the game is dying, or the game is dead, or the game is Mickey Mouse. And I had to hear about everyone talking about how I should feel about the game, and the only people who play the game are people who play top tier or people who didn't do well in past games. The game's so dry and boring, and, you know, only people who are playing are people who didn't do well in past games and are trying to make himself a name in this game, and they don't really care about it. Like, I constantly get told how I feel about the game, or I get told about how I should feel, or how I don't even know. it's exhausting, like I said, to a degree where I love the community. I even tweeted out the other day, I love competitive MK. I love playing competitive MK, watching competitive MK, TOing competitive MK, making content around competitive MK. And I'd probably be better off, like, in terms of my own personal growth, like, gameplay videos. The videos I put out on gameplay are by far the easiest videos for me to make, and they're like almost always my most viewed videos. They're just gameplay, and maybe even like tournament runs, but I still put in the time and effort to make like a players to watch out for video at these majors to try to get a few extra eyes on it, a little bit of growth here and there, which in a way trying to grow the scene organically and not just be like, oh, WB needs to do this, NRS needs to do this, and if they don't, then I'm out. And if you're out, then it's okay to be out. If you don't want to play the game anymore, if you want to move on, I've seen Scar, a big NRS guy, talk about how he's just at least done with at least this version of NRS games and is going to try to play other fighting games, and I commend you for that. If you like previous NRS titles, try to build up a scene for that. I've been running Injustice 2 tournaments every other Friday night, basically giving up every one other of my Friday night plus my own money, my own time, to try to run a game for a scene for a game that, like, I put more time into running these events that I have hours on the game. And I enjoy watching it, I enjoy playing it, and I'm happy to do it. But people can do things like that. I'm someone with minimal influence. Imagine someone with big influence, someone like Tom Brady, like, oh, I'm going to start running an MKX event, and I'm going to use my YouTube ad revenue to fund the pods, and they're going to be big pods. And we'll get all these MKX players, and we're going to show that this game is the best game, and this is why. You know what I mean? Like, imagine doing something like that. Like, people can do that within the scene. I think that helps the scene overall. I would love that. I would love nothing more than there just to be a giant MK tournament or NRS tournament where it had MK1, MKX, MK11, MK9, Injustice 1, Injustice 2, maybe even a 3D era game, maybe even MK3. And it was just this big event put on by the community with all like these big influencers, and people showed up to the game, and each game had a pop bonus and stuff. I would love to do that, and that's if I ever end up the YouTube ends up going well, I'm getting close to monetization. If you want to drop me a sub here, I'll be close to 1,000, and I can start making a little bit of ad revenue that can help fund an idea like that. But if I could ever do something like that, that would be amazing, or at least be a part of that in some way. Whether I don't do it, but there's people that have a lot of influence that could make something like that happen very legitimately. Get legitimate sponsors with their pool, get people to show up because they have a big voice. But who knows if they ever will, and who knows if something like that can happen. I think it could. It definitely could, but will it? I don't know. And it seems like a lot of people just don't care to make something like that happen, and that's fine. People can do what they want. But it's just interesting that you dislike something so much, but yet you put so much time and effort into disliking it. And to a degree, I can get that, but it's just, like I said, it's exhausting. Putting time into something you don't like I'm a busy person. Like, I work full time, I have a girlfriend, I have 4 cats I have to deal with, I have family that lives kind of far away, and I have to travel to see them. I'm actually going to go drive to my mom's after this. She lives 2 hours away, to spend the weekend there. You have the busyness, and I'm trying to get better at this game, at Super Smash Bros. Melee, running tournaments for these games, running tournaments for older NRS games. It's just, I don't have a lot of time, so having time to put my effort into something that I don't like to that degree, I mean, unless it's self-serving, like I make money from it or something like that, it would just be like, why would I do that when I can put the time into things that I genuinely enjoy? I hope you guys enjoy this. I did what I could. I talked about, all the things. I hope everything I said makes sense. 30K pop bonus for MK1 here. I'm excited to watch it. I'm going to make a players to watch out for video. I have MK competitive top 100 ranking going to be coming out in a couple of weeks here. Need to really grind that out because I haven't been putting in enough time into that. But I gave myself a deadline, and it's going to be done by then, and it's going to be as thought out as I possibly can make it. That'll be cool, so players have at least something to strive for in terms of that, where, hey, I can try to make this ranking, and I can try to get good enough and just travel enough to enough events and do well enough, and I can maybe get on this ranking. That'll be really cool, and I hope I can influence people in that way to where they just desire to say, it'll be cool. Oh, like 87th ranked Mortal Kombat 1 player in the world, that's really cool. And it's, what I hope for, but we shall see. Like I said, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I mentioned it before, but if you want to drop a sub to the channel, I'm getting closer to that 1,000 subs. Means I can start monetizing the channel, which would be awesome. Which means, any money I make from this, I'm just going to put it back in the scene, whether that's be traveling to events or running events, putting up pop bonuses, whatever it is. I'm going to do everything I can for the scene. I love the community. I love the game. And that's it, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was just one topic today, basically. It kind of went off into several other derivative topics. That's going to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys at the next video.